Hi, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kieran Schmidt.
And this is Out of Office, a travel podcast.
The seat taken?
Hey, Kieran.
Oh my God, Ryan. I'm so relieved to hear you're okay. People will know from the title. This is like a from the war zone sort of episode. Of course, an actual war has started since you escaped Puerto Vallarta. But I'm extremely relieved that you're here and you're okay.
Yeah, no, I am here. I am okay after 36 hours in Puerto Vallarta that were pretty wild, and I don't want to like get too much into that right now because I'm going to tell like a
it's the meat of the episode.
It's the meat of the episode. But the end result is I am okay. I'm here in Dubai where it is very safe.
That's not funny. That's not at the time of the recording. The State Department has put out an alert that Americans are to leave every Middle Eastern country.
Yeah, so folks, hope folks are safe out there. It's a very chaotic world we live in.
Absolutely, I had several contacts of mine were actively moving through the Dubai airport when the war started, and one flew out just 3 hours before the first bomb dropped. So it's pretty harrowing stuff.
That is when you take any seat they got.
Absolutely.
Buy the bathroom, take it. Yeah, no problem.
It's just total chance. It's just you do seem to have. You're always in Spain, you were just ahead of derailment.
Yeah,
and then you were in Puerto Vallarta for how long before the drug cartels started taking out vengeance on the state?
A whole week.
So a whole week. Okay. So again, you were on the tail end, but I don't want to get too far into it. And it's funny.
You do sound like my mom though, who can take any geography that I'm in and then apply a filter of something bad that has happened there.
If you keep constantly going places where you should be wearing a flak jacket, then I'm with her. So it's funny because on the outline today, we have the Judy alert here in the A block. A block is, it's industry term for the first section of the podcast here. And the Judy alert is for, we haven't explained it in a little while. That's Ryan's mom, Judy. Ryan, as a son goes, I don't know, C+, C. And sometimes Judy doesn't know where in the world Ryan is and just wants to know he's safe. So we use the podcast to put the Judy alert out to reassure Judy Davis that Ryan Davis is okay. And it's just funny to me you put it in the A block here because really this whole episode is the first extended episode long Judy alert.
Yes. So and I'll talk about how I told my mom that I was okay. But I'm currently in Bogota, where stuff like that hasn't happened in 15 years. So
no, surely we won't be replacing that regime for 10, 15 more days.
Well, they have an election very soon. So they're going to have a new leader. So
and who's pulling ahead here?
It's somebody from the same party as the current guy. So a pretty leftist for sure.
That doesn't bode well.
No.
Well, Ryan, before we get into the whole Puerto Vallarta epic, just a couple pieces of housekeeping. Now, last episode, we did do a return trip. It had been a while since we'd done a return trip.
Yeah, we we were both sort of
indisposed. You were trying to escape for your life, and I was on a ski trip with the family. We probably are due for another traveling with kids episode, which got a lot of good feedback. The first one we did after I did the cruise with the kids, and this winter we've been on an epic journey of trying to make my 4-year-old and my 6-year-old ski, because I didn't learn to ski till I was 30, and it was a huge mistake. It's better to learn when you only have a foot to fall from the ground when you're 4 and 6 years old. So this winter has just been ski school. And this was a bad for the restaurant business, which I'm in, but good for the ski business, an extremely cold and snowy winter here in New England. It feels like the winters when I was growing up, where the lakes would freeze over, you could ice skate all winter. And there was sledding and all the winter activities for 4 months of the year.
Yeah, I have been following the weather, and it does look like it's been very cold. You've got like two massive storms that hit
Yeah, it's really. I mean, just a week ago was a massive blizzard, but record beating all over the place. 2 to 3 feet falling within one day. You had hours where you were accumulating 2 inches. It's been pretty incredible. I mean, I love the winter and I love snow, so it's been great. A real throwback, and I rather hope that we have winters like this again. And the irony is, for anybody who listened to the skiing episode, for this year, every time I'm out at the New England resorts, which we've done a lot this year, we went to Catamount. We went to Pat's Peak several times, several days in Stowe, Killington, and Pico. I think that's every mountain we've done this year. But all of them have had great conditions, and frequently hearing people in line talking about, in ski culture, a lot of people plan their trips out west, especially to Colorado, Montana, for skiing during these months. And it's been a not great ski season out there. It's been unseasonably warm with very little snow. And that could change. I mean, you get one or two big storms and suddenly it's great conditions. But a lot of people were talking about they canceled their trips. Or I know my Instagram is filled with a bunch of travelers who have gone to Colorado and, they had a non-cancelable ticket and they're just taking pictures of like muddy mountains with this little stream of manufactured ski snow that they're meant to go down, and not inspiring stuff.
No, that is not inspiring. Well, at least you got to just drive to your ski retreat.
Yeah, it's great to drive. I mean, you can underestimate how long it takes in New England to get to some of these places, and they're packed. I mean, you really got to. This is where my like type A planning really pays off. When you're trying to get 2 children and 2 adults out on a mountain for like the opening of the lift ticket, or all these ski schools have very specific requirements and times that you can check the kids in and pick them up. And it really is a logistics game. And for the first 2 times out this year, the first time Catherine forgot her snow pants and we had to turn around, totally threw off the schedule. I sped and got us there in time. And then the second time I forgot the children's ski boots. There's just a lot of gear associated. I know I go into this in the episode for anyone who just listens. There's so much gear involved. By the time you actually have it all on, you're like actually going on the chairlift, you're just like exhausted because it's like it takes all your physical energy just to get your feet into those boots.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is why I'm not a fan.
Yeah, that and coordination. I know both of those.
No, I started a little late. Judy didn't take me skiing.
I didn't learn to, but I think my lesson here, and that I'll share with the parents out there who are thinking about this for their kids, is you just have to bite the bullet and you have to absolutely commit. And I would say that this is the first year. This is 2026. This is the first year since the pandemic where I really feel like we were able to like get out there. I think we did 10 days in total skiing. We might even be able to manage 1 or 2 more if it stays cold here in New England. And you have to commit. And I really recommend these ski schools for the kids, which are a little expensive, but it's also daycare basically, so that they're teaching the kids, but then they get playtime and they get food. And it frees you up to go do your adult skiing in the, harder slopes. And you come back and the kids have usually bonded with their teachers. Usually they're like these really lovely high school and college kids who get along great with the kids. And you got to commit. The kids, they cry when you drop them off, and then they're laughing and happy when you pick them up. And that's the dream scenario.
Yeah. Well, if you had dropped me off, I would have been crying when you dropped me off, and probably crying more when you picked me up.
I want to put you with the 4-year-old ski school. Yeah. It's funny too. All these resorts, they have different names for it. So like in one, they're a cub, and the other, they're like a chipmunk. And it's always like a cute little name for what their skill level is.
I never got out of ski school when I went.
And Charlie at this point is like beyond me. He just did his first black diamond. I'm like,
what?
You're 6.
Oh my, we're raising an Olympian. Be careful. That's expensive. So,
well, Ryan, I think, there's quite a tale to tell here. So I would suggest that we, as much as I don't want to say this, I think we should take off and get to Puerto Vallarta so that we can learn about how you escaped.
Let's go. Tell the cabin crew.
Flight attendants, prepare for takeoff, please.
All right, Kieran, we are here in sunny Puerto Vallarta, and to sort of set the scene, we arrived about the Sunday before the Sunday we're gonna be talking about.
And who's we?
Me and my boyfriend David,
Sure.
and we got an Airbnb in Zona Romantica, which is the neighborhood. So Puerto Vallarta is a pretty big city. It's got like 300,000 residents, and there's different sections. There's like the northern part, which is sort of like the high end hotel zone, like with all the resorts, and that's where like a lot of families will go when they're vacationing. Then there's sort of the middle kind of zone, which is where like people actually live. There's like, more lower scale hotels. And then there's Zona Romantica, and that's sort of the neighborhood where there's just a lot of Airbnbs and restaurants and obviously bars. And so that's sort of how the city's divided. So, we got into Puerto Vallarta on Sunday and had like a super normal week. So like a normal week in Puerto Vallarta. My friend Seth Sykes from New York had a cabaret show that we went to at Act 2 PV, and there's a lot of like little cabaret and music venues in the city. So there's always a lot to see. So that was a lot of fun. And then we went to dinner at the Iguana, and the Iguana is this beautiful restaurant in the mansion that Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton built in Puerto Vallarta after they filmed a movie called Night at the Iguana. They fell in love with Puerto Vallarta, and they basically invited a lot of their rich LA friends to come and build mansions there. So there's this like little neighborhood called Gringo Gulch that
that sounds like somewhere you belong.
That overlooks the bay. So had a lovely dinner there. It's got like a real kind of old Hollywood vibe. When you walk up the grand stairs, there's a huge oil portrait of Elizabeth and her diamonds. So it's a super cool place. And then just a couple beach days at the Sapphire Beach Club, and you show up about 10:30. It's a beach club, like you would find in a resort where they're they have a full menu and they provide you with the towels and everything you need. You just kind of just show up. And I love spending time there between the ocean and the pool. And then we hit up like the bar scene. Like there's a really cool bar called Paco's Ranch, which has like this massive drag show every night at midnight. Well, they've got.
Wow, you're really painting a big like gay and entertainment scene that I didn't realize was there. I think of mostly beach life.
Yeah, no, it is a town that's got beach all day and then a lot to do in the evenings. So Paco's Ranch is always a lot of fun. So, everything's normal. We go to my friend Don's hotel Casa Cupola, which is sort of up the mountain a bit.
Yeah, I forgot you have that place there. Right.
Yeah, and they've got a great pool club, and they do concerts up there. We saw a concert. So, everything was really normal. And we had a great Saturday night, and we went to bed thinking tomorrow we're going to wake up, have a little food, and catch our afternoon flight. Kind of back to Bogota was really the plan. So here it comes. We wake up. It's Sunday morning, quiet morning.
Getting dressed for church, I assume.
Yeah. Thinking about getting dressed for a couple of beautiful churches in Puerto Vallarta.
I bet.
And
do you start to get like a burning sensation on your skin when you go near them?
So we hear these sort of like pops and explosions in the background. And one of the things I should say about Puerto Vallarta is they're really into fireworks. In fact, every single night there is a fake pirate ship where families go and
wow.
The pirates take over the ship, and then there's like a Disney-esque pirate show in the ship.
Oh my God, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, and then it ends with like this big fireworks display.
I'm sold. I bet flights are pretty cheap for me to take the kids there right now.
It definitely. So there's
have you done the pirate music? Don't just skip by this pirate review. This is like Kieran fodder here.
No. I've never been on the ship, but every night you see at the end, when the pirates are defeated, there's fireworks. So every night there's fireworks in Puerto Vallarta from the pirate ship, and then independent firework folks. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, there's some fireworks going on pretty early on a Sunday.
Yeah, little early pirate show.
Yeah,
tonight.
Yeah, maybe it's like a brunch pirate show. They've adjusted their schedule. Who knows? But we don't think anything of it. And then I get a message from my friend Chase, who's
acquaintance of the pod.
Yeah, who's also in town. Because one of the things
he's in Puerto Vallarta as well.
Yeah, and my friends. I mean, the thing about Puerto Vallarta is there's so many New Yorkers. Like I know so many people who are in town. It's sort of like being in Hell's Kitchen, especially this time of the year. So I get a text from Chase, and he's like, "Hey, there's been a couple car bombs in the city," and so my first thought is like, okay, these things happen in Mexico sometimes. I look at the news. It's like a report of like 2 car bombs, and they're not anywhere near sort of the hotel zones or the
and you don't have a car there, so you're okay.
Yeah, and we're like not leaving for hours, so like whatever's happening is going to be cleaned up in the next next few hours.
Because your flight is that day.
Yeah, our flight is that day.
Yeah.
So we think let's go get some food and we'll figure out what to do.
Yeah.
So.
And let's go take in some fireworks. We'll head right to those explosions. That's a good idea.
We go down and things are kind of normal in the Malecon, which is sort of the boardwalk. We're about a 5-minute walk from there, and find a place that has a big breakfast buffet. I love a breakfast buffet. So we pop in and we start. It seems pretty normal. People having a good time, having mimosas.
Is it like locals that are having a good time, or is it the New Yorkers you're talking?
I mean, this is all like this is mostly a crowd of like tourists. It's like the tourist zone.
Okay.
So we're having this brunch, and then this kind of like random man comes up to us, random gringo guy, and he's like, "Just want to make sure you know what's happening." And we're like, "Yeah, we saw the news."
Yeah,
like, okay.
we know there's a bottomless mimosa. Yeah. I'm thinking about the frittata.
But this guy who's sort of a MAGA adjacent look is going around telling everybody, what's happening. And so I'm on Twitter. I'm talking to Chase and a couple other friends who are around. And I start to notice that instead of like there being fewer car bombs, there are more car bombs happening. And it seems like the geography of the situation is really rapidly expanding, outside of Jalisco, in Guadalajara, in many other Mexican states. And that's when news breaks that overnight the Mexican government had, killed one of the main cartel leaders in the country. So we start, I begin to get a feeling that like, all right, like this brunch setting is actually not reality. And there's something else happening that is bigger than us.
That white privilege really starts to dial up at that point.
So I'm like, David, let's get the check. Let's get out of here. And we start to notice that everything is taking a little longer. There's a little more of a anxious look in the eyes.
People are sort of army crawling across the floor.
Yeah. Our servers are starting to get a little more kind of like wide-eyed and
do they seem to know what's going on? Like, you said the Americans going around telling you. Does the restaurant staff seem to surely their information is better than yours, that you're getting less delayed than yours?
Yes. So David's like overhearing some of their Spanish and telling me like what they're saying. Like they're saying that they've heard this, they've heard that. So the restaurant staff is definitely, I mean, they're not trying to freak out the guest, but amongst themselves, there's a feeling of anxiety that seems to be growing.
Yeah. Okay.
So we leave and we walk by an OXXO.
Tip well? Did you tip well?
Yeah, we tipped very well.
I hope you did.
Yeah, 15%. No, so we
oh my God.
We leave, and in the same building as the hotel that we had the brunch at, there's a OXXO, which is like their 7-Eleven, and I debate if we should go in and just grab some water or something. But again, I'm not thinking this is going to be a super prolonged situation, so we skip it.
And you're thinking you're about to leave.
Yeah, we're about to leave. So we go back to the house and the apartment. We come upstairs. About 15, 20 minutes goes by. We're packing. I'm messaging my Airbnb host being like, hey, we're going to be leaving soon. And then we look out the window and the OXXO we just walked by is completely in flames.
Oh my God.
And burning. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is actually happening. And about that time,
right in your face as well.
Yeah. And about that time, my Airbnb host writes back and she goes, do not leave the house. Do not go outside.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, okay, this is a whole other situation. So pretty soon after that, the Mexican government issues this shelter in place order, which basically tells folks not to leave. And And when commerce starts to shut down in Mexico, that's a sign of bad things. Like when the taco vendors are shutting down, when the people are selling T-shirts. So we're watching from our window the entire city in basically in a 45-minute kind of like block, going from being an active beach town with all that entails to being like a completely shut down, empty kind of like ghost of a city with some really random kind of boomers, retirees who live there who just seem like, you know what, we're 80. What are they going to do? And who are still kind of like walking, doing their like calisthenics, like on the Malecon. But most folks have gone inside. So we go up to the roof of the apartment where there is like a pool. And this is the first time we meet all the other people who are like in the building for the weekend. And it's it's a mix of like some gay tourists, some straight tourists, just all tourists. So because this building's basically Airbnb. And as we start looking around, we notice instead of the 1 or 2 fires that were there previously, there's probably 9 or 10 kind of like fires happening all around the building.
Oh my God. I have a question at this point, which is like, do it all start going to like, holy shit, where do we go if this building catches on fire?
Yeah, that becomes sort of the conversation of the guest on the building. Like what happens if this building catches on fire? So we're all on the internet getting information. We're seeing like what's happening. So basically,
the internet is a great place for reliable information.
Well, that becomes
in real time.
That becomes part of this story, right? So we are reading like a lot of real news. So the cartels are burning cars, they're burning buses, they're blocking roads, they're burning OXXOs. People are reporting they're burning pharmacies. Someone is reporting that the Costco is on fire, which is a huge building. Some of this is true, some of this is not true. At the same time, there's stuff happening online showing us like that the airport in Guadalajara has been taken over by cartel and that they burned an airplane. Neither of these things happened, right? The cartel did not take over the airport. They did not burn an airplane, but AI people.
How about the Costco? Did they burn the Costco?
No, they burned a bunch of cars in front of the Costco.
Because I got to say, a Costco, knowing that there's a Costco, that might have been a place that I would think to go.
We all talked about like, hey, being locked in the Costco, you've got wine, you've got big screen TVs, you've got plenty of food.
Huge, and you got to think a big international company like Costco would be willing to get security there. They probably have a fire system in place. I think a Costco, plus if a fire starts, usually a lot of high quality meats that you could roast up and, you could live on that for a week or two.
Yeah. Yeah. So we hadn't started thinking about the food situation yet, but as the hours wear on and we are like running out of drinking water, because,
because you can't drink the faucet water.
Right, because we're staying in an Airbnb. We're 3 minutes from a restaurant. We've eaten out like every meal. We have nothing in the apartment like at all, like zero things.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other folks who was in the apartment, he comes to Puerto Vallarta every summer for 3 months, and he was in the middle of his 3 months, and there's a Starbucks that's like a block away. So he had gone that morning, and all the Starbucks kids were kind of like freaking out about where they were going to go. And he said, come hang out on the roof and we'll figure it out from there.
So you don't want to be hanging out with the Starbucks crowd.
Well, here's what happens though, is all these kids who work at Starbucks, they come over, and as the day wears on, they go back to Starbucks and they bring back all the sandwiches, all the pastries. They bring back
stole a bunch of stuff from the Starbucks. Okay,
they're employees of the Starbucks, right?
Yeah, we're gonna tag Starbucks on Twitter when this episode's revealed because I think you owe them a little money.
Well, this becomes very important because as the night wears on, the day starts. All right, so let me. The sort of big climactic moment is we're on the roof and we haven't seen any police response, any military. It's not like in New York where if something like this went down, there would be
sirens endlessly.
Yeah, it would be like they would. The new NYPD would look like the army. It would be indistinguishable from that kind of response. So there's no response, and the government has decided for better or for worse, because the cartel is not actually killing anyone. Really, like I shouldn't say that. There was a battle with police, and many officers died tragically, but they were going out of their way to not kill tourists, or civilians, right? Like, it seemed obvious from the reporting that they were showing that they were powerful without.
They're trying to create chaos without maximizing civilian deaths.
Yeah, they were saying we could kill civilians, but we are not. So the big moment, so the government's not engaging with these folks on the street, which I think is actually probably a good idea, because shootout in the romantic zone would kill a lot more civilians than a burning OXXO, right?
I have another question. At this moment, so Starbucks kids have returned with food and water. You're watching the fires. You're not hearing a response from police and military. Where is your fear level on a 0 to 10, 10 being the max?
It peaked a little earlier in the afternoon. Once we realized that they were burning fewer buildings, like, and the fires were not like spreading, like they were cars, and I had no idea that you burn a little Pinto, the amount of smoke from that one car is astonishing. Like, it looks like,
well, there's gas in there, so that helps. Yeah.
And also they were burning buses and tractor trailers. So, and those things, they're big.
Okay, let me rephrase my question. At the scariest moment, where were you on 0 to 10? Because you're not a famously brave man.
No, I was not super frightened.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. The peak moment was when this fire it looked like it was really close. We had to close all the windows in the apartment, and this was a lot of smoke. That was like a solid half an hour where we were like, is this fire going to travel?
Yeah.
But once the fire started dying down, that was like super close to us. The main concern became like, okay, how are we going to eat? How are we going to drink? Because it's like,
is that a 7 on the scale? I just want to get a sense of where you were.
6 or 7.
Okay, 6. Wow. I said, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I would have been at a 9, I think.
So the streets are quieting down. And all of a sudden, this huge Mexican helicopter, military helicopter, and I could tell that it was military because there were 2 big men with guns on each side. Now, I hope they were the good guys. I assume the cartels didn't have access to this incredible, technology, but maybe they do.
Right.
So he flew over us quite a few times. I took a video of it, and that's ended up how I got the Reuters interview we'll talk about in a little bit. But so that was the first time we had seen any kind of government, like, oh, the Mexican government exists. They have a helicopter. Things quieted down. And
though, was there a fire response? Because the fires are dying down. Is that just because the fire? Were there people fighting the fires?
Like when the OXXO went on fire, the people literally, like the civilians from that like apartment complex, like they put the fire out.
Wow.
Like, there's no like governmental response whatsoever, right? So I end up going outside because more and more people are kind of like wandering the streets looking for food and water, but everything is closed. There's one grocery store, not even a grocery store. It's like a little side deli. And there's a line of about, 300 people in front of this little deli. And they're letting one person in at a time by opening up their massive security gate, letting the one person in and closing it. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, even if I get in this line in 3 hours and I get to the front, is there going to be anything left in this like little store? So my little like outside trip to find food did not work out, but I saw like, all these burned down, multiple burned down OXXOs. I saw burned out cars, like it was like, wow, this stuff was happening like while we were inside. So I go back to David and I'm like, I failed to secure any food or water.
This is where Ryan's true colors show. The resourcefulness of Ryan.
Well,
come back. Sorry, man. I got nothing.
So I go back up to the roof to the Starbucks kids, and I'm like, "Hey, you don't know me, but please."
Yep.
We're hungry.
Leaning on the locals.
We're
this
hungry.
Sounds right. Oh my God, we're hungry. Sorry, our morning brunch we've just come off the drunkenness from our morning mimosas. Is there anything you can do to help us poor foreigners?
So they were nice enough to give us sandwiches and pastries and coffee.
Oh, they weren't offering this. I thought because you guys took them in, they brought the stuff. For everybody.
We didn't take them in. Some other person who knew them took. So we're not
sure, but you're all in the same place. What they're
are you really all in
top of Starbucks sandwiches and waters, and they're not offering you? Was there any coffee?
Yeah, we got all that. So they let it.
Did you ever think of going over and go, do you have anything other than Starbucks? That's what I.
Well, we made a lot of coffee because we still didn't have any water. But
you got the swimming pool.
Yeah. Well, gosh, it didn't get that. It didn't get that grim. The grimmest thing was I found out in our freezer there was a big bag of ice cubes, and the ice cubes were made with purified water. So throughout the night, we're like sucking on ice cubes.
That's like something out of a horror movie that the dad realizes, guys, we can suck on the ice cubes.
Hey, those were amazing. I was so thirsty.
I bet. No, it sounds like it was really tough.
Yeah.
So I love that this is still day one.
Yes. So we go to bed and things are calming down.
Wait, what's going on with your flight?
Oh, it's all been canceled. Everything.
And are they giving any guidance, or is it just like, hey, you don't come to the airport?
Well, Aeromexico said don't come to the airport today, but they rescheduled us for ambitiously, I thought, for the next afternoon. And I'm like, all right, so let's see if this actually happens. So we go to bed and we wake up in the next morning. We both have to work. So it's 8 a.m. and I am like on work calls and David is on work calls and there's still fires burning.
Are you putting on the blur background?
Yeah, we're sucking on ice cubes,
people can't see the blazes behind you going on and off mute. So the explosions.
I'm just trying not to bring up that I'm anywhere. I don't want to make this like a conversation in the workplace. So
no, I've heard from one of your employees how he found out, and there was a little text thread going on saying, "Do you think Ryan's going to die?" Because he's like the head of the company, so that might be bad for us.
And we don't have a succession plan, I'm not the Ayatollah.
You don't have a succession plan? I mean, you've got a Ryan, Junior Ryan. Surely he would step up.
He would step in. Yeah, there'd be some people who'd fight for that spot. But so let me sort of the Monday is happening. One of the dumb things I didn't do on Sunday when I went out on my little late afternoon mission to find food was get cash. So I did have to get cash. It was a very long line. One other lesson I learned is in the event of a situation like this, the first thing you should do is get cash and water. So keep that in mind.
That's a good tip.
Yeah,
that's a very good tip. So now, what is the urgency of cash?
Because there's no Uber. Uber's still shut down, so we got to figure out a way to get to the airport. So I download this sketchy sort of LATAM app that I've used in cities that don't have Uber before.
What's it called?
It's called InDrive. And InDrive is the kind of thing where
it's startlingly close to injured.
Yeah, well, the way that InDrive works is you make an offer for a ride in cash and a driver can accept it. So in really busy times, you can just kind of pay more and get a ride faster. So I made there's not that many drivers. I made a very aggressive offer and, in reality, not that aggressive, right? It might cost 400 pesos to go to the airport. I offered 1,000 to see what would happen.
Yeah.
And a driver accepted. And he picks us up and without that many cars on the street. And we are kind of driving and there's one moment where I can't tell if we're going to be able to get through the street because there's two burned out cars in a row.
Oh my God.
So the driver just, he's chill. He just kind of maneuvers kind of through the cars. And the whole time that we're going to the airport, he's playing 90s Nirvana, which I thought was super appropriate.
Well, that probably helps, right?
Helps.
Yeah.
But as the atmosphere from the day before, which was terror, horror, people didn't know what was going to happen, to the day, as we go through sort of the luxury hotel zone, there's a few burned out tractor trailers, and there's a man, clearly a gringo with a baby carriage with a baby in it, and he's taking selfies in front of this burned out tractor trailer.
Oh my God.
And I'm this is such a weird world.
If that is not the If that is not the image of our time,
it
is really fucked up.
It was really. I'm like, this is a strange.
I shouldn't say fuck. We tend not to swear.
Yeah.
That is really messed up.
Yeah. People respond in different ways, but it was just like, I wouldn't post that selfie.
I wouldn't put my baby right next to the burning car.
Yeah. It's all the gas fumes and stuff. I mean, it still felt like a war zone. A post-war zone, at least. So we get to the airport, and my first thought is, oh, crap, all the flights are canceled. We look up, and we just see canceled. But then I realized they're all flights out of Mexico, and we are flying to Mexico City. So Aeromexico can actually get their plane from Mexico City to Puerto Vallarta, but Seattle, the flights to Seattle and the flights to Atlanta, they're all canceled because those flights are not flying into PV. So all these people are pretty disappointed. Now the airport is crowded and busy, but it is not chaotic. Everyone.
I mean, I'm sure at that point, if you saw any flight that was leaving, you'd probably try to take it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there was supposed to be 3 flights. 2 flights in the morning to Mexico City before Air Flight, and they both got canceled. So Air Flight did not get canceled. We got into the Wild Wings. There was like 3 restaurants kind of like before security. We got into the Wild Wings. Everybody's clearly hungry. So the Wild Wings at some point has to literally put down their gate and say like, no more customers.
Oh my God.
Never happened.
You inside?
I was inside. Oh yeah. I'm inside. So I am devouring some lukewarm wings and not complaining. Let me tell you. And that's when I did my Reuters interview because I had posted the video of the helicopter, and they had reached out and asked if they could use it. And so I did an interview, just kind of telling a version of this story, and I'll post it in the show notes. But
how did this journalist find you? I don't know about this interview.
Yeah, well, I just posted on Insta, and they had reached out and said, "Hey, can we use this video?" And I said, "Sure." And then they said, "Are you available to talk?" And this was like Monday morning, and I'm like, I'm like in line at the ATM. I'm like, I gotta get. I'm like, I'm sorry, I gotta get out of town, but if I get to the airport, I'll talk to you then. So I got to the airport and I did the Reuters interview, and then they syndicated it many places. Like I was on like the NBC like nightly news. I got text from like Glenn Kelly. He's like, I just saw you on NBC News. So
it's nice that somebody's watching NBC News. Yeah. Shout out to Glenn.
Yeah, and. To sort of wrap the day, we arrive in Mexico City.
Wait, hold on. I got a question about the interview. Yeah. Did you plug out of office?
I did not. But
wait, Ryan. I'm seeing the interview right now. Did you wear your hat? You didn't wear your Panama hat, did you?
No, I didn't wear my Panama hat.
Oh, okay. You know what? It was pulling your profile picture to show me. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. All right.
So I'll post a link to the interview. But you now have heard the story firsthand, so nothing will be new.
I'm disgusted that it just says Ryan Davis was among the foreign tourists in Puerto Vallarta, and it doesn't say travel podcaster Ryan Davis of Out of Office.
I thought if I'd said I was a travel podcaster,
that big break, Ryan.
I thought that would have turned them off if I'd said I was a travel podcaster. They're no, we're just looking for regular people, not travel experts.
Then their comments would blow up about how horrible travel podcasters are. This could have been huge for us. This is such a missed moment, Ryan.
I was already aware that centering myself in this story is like problematic, right? Like this is not a story about
so much of what you've said is problematic. I mean, this is like the story of privilege. The fact that you were a 6 out of 10 tells me you were okay. You know, you're still hanging out by a pool sipping on Starbucks when we really boil down the story.
I did not get in the pool, but some of our neighbors were in the pool, in the infinity pool while the fires were, and I was like, this is very like modern war, you know, like strange vibes. But just a couple things I want to say before we wrap this segment is, Puerto Vallarta is a really great place to visit. I don't think that this is something that is going to be happening often. And I have a lot of friends and have businesses there, and they're really relying on tourism. And, I hope the government of Jalisco, the state that Puerto Vallarta is able to get this situation under control. And since we've been since that Monday, things have returned to normal, in Jalisco, and people are going back to Puerto Vallarta. But it is a scary thing. It's how Acapulco went from being a major luxury tourist destination to a place that nobody goes. So this kind of violence is bad for Puerto Vallarta. It's bad for Jalisco. It's bad for Mexico. And it was a very disturbing thing to be a part of.
Well, and while we joked about sort of your privileged experience of it, it still is very scary, and I'm sure that you were seeing what like locals were going to have to put up with. I mean, you were able to leave, but that was what'd you say? 300,000 people still live there. Now, post now that it's a couple weeks on, has it like what's the current state of Puerto Vallarta?
There's definitely been some cancellations. Your comment about flights being cheaper, hotels being cheaper, definitely true. But they have bounced back. It's a resilient society, and there are incentives. The cartel has incentives not to they want to make money. Ultimately, they're a business, and disrupt the days of horrible disruption like this are not good for just the brass tacks of the business. So hopefully things will continue to be because Puerto Vallarta always had a reputation of being like a very safe place to visit, in the same way that Cancun and Tulum rightly have these reputations as well. So Mexico is a country that is very reliant upon tourism. It's a big part of their their GDP, so they need it.
Yeah, and so I just curious, for your friend who owns the hotel there, have you heard at all? Like, I mean, are people booking? Are people still keeping on? Because I mean, it does seem like your analysis was correct, which is this was like a show of strength against the government to show them, the cartels can cause chaos. But it was kind of accomplished in a day. Or two, or I mean, after a week, the burned out cars, presumably everything was like kind of cleaned up. The Costco is back open.
Chase and I said that the cartels killed fewer civilians than ICE did in Minneapolis. So
oh, boy, you got to remember, we're trying to stay right.
Well, I mean, but it's true though. They showed more restraint.
Sure, so. That I mean, it is a good comparison point for sure. Now, my one last question is, in the spirit of the Judy alert, when did mom become aware of this, and how did you tell her you were okay?
So I knew that she wouldn't have seen the news yet. So I just messaged her and said, "Hey, mom, everything is safe and fine. No matter what you read." Even when I didn't know that was true yet, because it was
it's good to do. That's like anytime I've gone like very far abroad to a place that would scare mom a little bit, we always had a code. I would always tell her I'm going to Scotland, because in her mind, Scotland, I mean, that's one of the safer places you could be.
Sure.
So if I said I'm going to Scotland, she knew that I wasn't going to like a seedy, non-touristy area of a dangerous foreign country.
Where I mean, you can get in a bar fight in Scotland though. No, that would be easy.
Don't tell. Then my mom will start panicking about Scotland. I need this code word. Well,
yeah.
Ryan, I think we got to wrap by just saying, I'm so thankful that you're okay. You and I were texting a little bit. I was trying not to bother you. I just wanted to know you were okay. And I was very relieved when you posted, the video of you heading to the airport. And boy, you got really lucky to get out on that flight that day.
Yeah, I feel very lucky. And just shout out to all the folks in PVR, and I wish them, the best of luck.
All right, Ryan. Well, with that, I think it's time for the last stop.
The last stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last stop on this train. Everyone, please leave the train.
All right. Well, we're here in the last segment of the show. This is the final segment of the show. It's the last stop. It's the final segment of the show. It's just different ways of saying that to kind of fill up the time. And it's my favorite segment. It's your favorite segment. It's popularly known as the people segment, which in the face of such tragedy that you just recounted, I think it's a good thing for us to come together as a community and to share. Particularly, you and I each share one thing. It could be anything. It could be a tale. I mean, like an epic tale, like you just shared. That's a little long for a last stop. It could be a news piece. It could be an article. It could be a podcast. Could be an interview that we've read. It could be a book that we're reading. Could be a souvenir. In this case, I'm going to share a souvenir, a little sneak peek. And but most importantly, it must meet one criterion. It must inspire the spirit of wanderlust within us, even during the workaday week. I mean, we're recording on a Tuesday. Nothing's more workaday than a Tuesday. So, Ryan, I've got to ask you, as I ask you every episode, do you have a last stop this week?
I do, Kiernan. So I'm back in Colombia, where I'm going to be, off and on for most of the year. And one of the resolutions I've made is to visit more, small towns and places that I haven't been. So my friends and I are planning a trip to Susca, which is a small town 2 hours out of Bogota that has some really famous hiking trails and indigenous art, and should be a really beautiful place to visit. So I'm excited to go out and have a reason to boot up my old All Trails app from the pandemic, and see some sights. So
you're gonna have to re-download that. I bet your phone kicked it off.
I most definitely did. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reset that password. But so yeah, I'm excited for that, and I'll be sharing some of those adventures on the pod, and I'll link in the show notes to check out this little town Susca, which I'm excited to be visiting. Did you bring a last stop this week, Kiernan?
I did. So this is a souvenir story, and it's we just recently rearranged a whole bunch of rooms here in the house, and so we had to empty a bunch of storage and like move the cabinets. And I came upon this souvenir that I'd forgotten about that was like buried in the back of a shelf, and I'm so happy I've rediscovered it. It reminded me of just this really cool aspect of visiting a Buddhist country. So when I went to Bhutan, you know my 3 Ps for a good souvenir. You recall the 3 Ps?
Yeah, price, potency, and performance.
Very close.
Portability.
Potency and portability. Exactly right. And when I was in Bhutan, my friend Joe and I were kind of exploring the city, and we went to a number of temples. And there's this aspect of Buddhist temples where many of them will have these giant prayer wheels outside. They're like giant cylinders that are hung vertically, and people spin them. They're often very ornamental, and they have writing on them. They have prayers on them, and you spin them. And the idea is that for Buddhists, this is the equivalent of saying that prayer. With each rotation, you've sort of said that prayer. Okay, so there's a certain tradition to it and method to it.
Reminds me a bit of Hail Mary,
like a rosary. Yeah, exactly. And we noticed that on some of the cars that were parked, they had these little solar powered prayer wheels where it was a miniature version of what are sometimes these giant prayer wheels at temples, and they turn all day long with the sun shining down on them, and it's the equivalent of the owner of that car saying those prayers. I just thought that was such a quirky, interesting, specific thing, and probably not that expensive. It's like a little dashboard trinket. 2, quite potent. I mean, you're talking about, prayers here. What's more potent than that? And 3, highly portable, very small. And they came in, we found them in the shop, and they came in these like really nice, nicely decorated golden boxes. So they felt kind of special. And I bought one of these. And I haven't had it out, ever since I haven't been working in an office. I haven't had it out turning all day long saying Buddhist prayers because, you gotta, if Catholics turn out to be wrong, it wouldn't be bad to have a few Buddhist prayers in the bank.
Most definitely.
And so I'm unearthing this, and I'm very excited to have it out and turning. I'm looking at it right now. I mean, I am actively praying whilst podcasting. But I'll post a video of it to the Instagram, which is at Out of Office Pod. Is that right? No. which is at OOO podcast, like Out of Office, OOO podcast. And you'll see it's one of the better encapsulations of my 3 Ps.
Well, that I can't wait to see a video of this. I love it. This was a fun episode. I hope I don't have any adventures like this to share for a while, at least. But until next time, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kiernan Schmidt.
And this is Out of Office, a travel podcast.
This seat taken.
That pirate show's got a new audience now, I think.
It's all cartel members.